In this video, we are going to start with a new chapter, electromagnetic induction. Now, this process, this phenomena is based on the experiments conducted by Michael Faraday and Joseph Henry. And the overview, I'll just give you a little definition of electromagnetic induction. Electromagnetic induction says that suppose if there is a magnetic field, suppose this is a magnetic field and there is some area, some coil, let us say we make a rectangular coil through which these magnetic field lines are passing. Now what this process, what this phenomena says of electromagnetic induction, that if these number of magnetic field lines, if these numbers of magnetic field lines which are crossing this coil, if this number changes, then there will be a current induced in the coil. So we can say if B associated or linked with a coil changes, then current is induced in the coil. So this phenomena is called electromagnetic induction, and Faraday did some experiments to prove this. We will come to the experiments later, but first we should do another topic, 2-3 small concepts, so that we are able to understand the experiments. First is magnetic flux. Now in the chapter, in the unit of electrostatic, we studied about electric flux, and we said that electric flux is the number of electric field line passing through an area, passing through a closed surface area, will be equal to Q by epsilon naught. That this was the Gauss law of electrostatics, and electric flux was number of electric field line passing through an area. Magnetic flux is also the same thing. Instead of electric field lines, we just have magnetic field lines. So magnetic flux is the number of magnetic field lines passing through an area. In electrostatic, we wrote this as electric flux. Here we are going to use phi b. So phi b is the electric flux, and it is the number of magnetic field line passing through an area. It is given as B dot A. Now suppose this is an area, this is a closed area. Let us remove the current. We will come to the current later on. Right now we just have some magnetic field lines passing through an area, and there are some magnetic field lines which are not passing through the area. Now if we want to find out the flux, we will take the same approach that we took in the electric flux. We will select a small area element dA and some field line is passing through it. So that means that there will be a small magnetic flux d phi b, which will be equal to B dot dA or B dA cos theta. Now what is theta here? Theta is the angle between dA and B. Now dA is area. Does area have an angle? I've already told you in the previous videos that we can take area as a vector quantity, and we know because it is a vector quantity, it will have some direction. Now the direction that we take for an area is always perpendicular to the plane of area. So let us say that if this board is a plane, if it is an area, then its direction can be taken either perpendicularly outward or perpendicularly inward. So the area vector is always perpendicular to the surface. It is on us perpendicular in which direction, outward or inward. So we can take any one that we want according to the situation given or according to our comfort. So dA, the direction of dA will be perpendicular to dA. So suppose if this coil is like this and dA is a small area element on this coil, so the direction of dA will be like this, and the angle with this direction dA and B, that angle is theta. So if this is the angle of B, let us say B cap, if this is the angle of magnetic field and area is like this, then area dA, the area vector, direction of area will also be like this. So what is theta? Now theta is 0 degree. If the area is like this, if I rotate this plane like this, then there will be some theta. If I rotate this plane like this so that the area vector is perpendicular, then theta will become equal to 90 degree. So this way the value of theta is judged. So small magnetic flux passing through a small area dA is given by this. Now if we want to find out the entire magnetic flux, what do? We integrate. So the total magnetic flux will be the integration of d phi b, or integration of b dot dA, where b is a constant quantity, it will be taken out, and dA, integration of dA, will depend upon the kind of A, whether it is a square, whether it is a sphere or cuboid, whatever it is, will integrate area according to that. So this is our magnetic flux. Now on this magnetic flux we have another theorem, very important theorem, which is called Gauss law of magnetism. Now we studied Gauss law of electrostatic, and Gauss law of electrostatics said that the electric flux in a closed surface area is equal to Q by epsilon naught. That was Gauss law of electrostatics. Gauss law of magnetism says that magnetic flux in a closed area, will be equal to 0. So this is the statement, mathematical statement of Gauss law. You will get all of these in notes also, but here I am explaining so that you are able to understand the concept of this. So phi b, magnetic flux in a closed surface area like this one, will be equal to 0. Now what does this mean? Does this mean that there is no magnetic field lines passing through the area? No, we can see that there are magnetic field lines passing through this area. Then what does 0 mean here? It means that flux entering the area, whenever I say area, it means closed area. Flux entering the area is equal to flux leaving the area. Since flux entering the area is equal to leaving the area, so the total flux inside the area inside closed area will be equal to 0. It is basically dependent on the concept that magnetic field is generated always because of a dipole. There will always be a north pole and there will always be a south pole with it. It is not possible to have north pole alone or south pole alone. Whereas it is possible to have positive charge alone and negative charge alone. That is why the total flux in Gauss law of electrostatics, it was not equal to 0, it was equal to Q by epsilon naught. But here, since monopoles, one pole we call monopole, both poles we call dipole, monopoles in magnetism do not exist, or at least scientists have not yet found it. Because of this, the Gauss law of magnetism is still correct, that the total flux leaving the area is equal to total flux entering the area. So the total flux in the closed area become equal to 0. So suppose we have a cube. Like this, and there is a north pole here and south pole here. So magnetic field lines will pass through this. Now if the question is what is the total flux inside the cube, then total flux inside the cube according to Gauss law of magnetism will be 0. But this does not mean there are no magnetic field lines. There are magnetic field lines. It's just that because of the existence of dipole, the total lines entering the cube will be equal to total lines leaving the cube. So the total lines inside the cube will be considered 0, although they are not actually 0. Okay, so this is the Gauss law of magnetism. Now we can come to the experiments. A unit of flux that you can see in book also, SI unit of flux is given as Weber. It is denoted by capital W and small b. All these relations you can see in book only. There is nothing to explain here. Now we will come to the experiments. The experiments of Faraday, from where the concept of electromagnetic inductions arose. Then he conducted two experiments basically. In first experiment, he took a coil and connected it to galvanometer. Now I already told you galvanometer is a device which is used to detect the current in a circuit. Now he took a magnet, let us say this is the magnet, north pole is facing the coil, and he moved the magnet towards the coil. Now when the magnet is moving towards the coil, what they saw in the experiment is that when the magnet is going like this, there will be current induced in the coil. So there will be some current flowing in the coil, and there was a deflection in galvanometer in one direction. Like this, there was a deflection in one direction. That means there is some current flowing in this. Why is current flowing? Because the magnet was moved towards it. Now when the magnet was moved away from it, again the current was induced, but this time the direction of needle changed. What does this mean? That in one direction of the motion, there was current in any particular direction, and when this motion of magnet was reversed, the direction of current in the circuit was also reversed. So this was the first experiment. The second experiment was similar. Instead of magnet, they took another coil and connected it to a battery. So they made a solenoid. Now we know that solenoid also has its own magnetic field, and this coil with galvanometer was placed near it. Now when this coil is moved, or you can move this also, it does not make any difference. When this coil is moved towards the secondary coil, there was a deflection in the galvanometer, and when the direction of motion of this coil was reversed, their direction of galvanometer needle changed. So the same results are obtained in both the cases. Now what do these results mean? This means that whenever the number of field lines connected to the coil changed, we can say whenever the number of magnetic field lines linked with coil changed, current was induced in the coil. Number of magnetic field lines, what do we call it? We call it flux. So we can say whenever the flux associated with the coil changed, the current was induced in the coil. Another thing that they studied was that when direction of motion of magnet changed, direction of current also reversed. This was the second observation that they studied. Now from these two observations, from these two results, we can say Faraday gave two laws which are called Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So he gave two laws. The first law that he gave was, as long as flux linked with coil changed, induced current existed. As long as the number of field lines linked with the coil is changing, the number of field line is changing, till that time, only till that time, the current was induced in the coil. if the number of field lines stop changing, the current will stop induced. So if when we are bringing this magnet, towards here, then the magnet is bringing its magnetic field lines with itself, and the number of magnetic field lines that are crossing the coil will change as the magnet will move closer to the coil. So because of that, current was induced. If suppose we bring the coil closer and here I stop, now the number of field lines are not changing. Now the number of field lines are stationary with respect to the coil. So now the current will stop inducing. The galvanometer needle will come to 0. So the current will be induced in the coil only as long as magnetic flux is changing. So this was the first law, and because induced current is there, so obviously there will be induced EMF. So I am just writing here, it is understood that wherever there is current, there will be a potential difference. So this potential difference is just like current, this potential difference is also induced, and just like when the current reverses direction, the direction of potential difference will also reverse. The positive negative polarity will change. So we will say whether we can use induced current or we can say induced EMF. It is the same thing in this case. Second law that he gave was the flux, the magnetic flux, or not magnetic flux, the induced EMF. This induced EMF, we will denote it with epsilon. This induced EMF depends upon d phi b upon dt. What is it? It is rate of change of flux or rate of change of magnetic field lines. What this statement means? This means that if the magnetic flux linked with the coil is changing very fast, if it is changing very rapidly, the current induced in the coil will also be of large magnitude. If suppose I am moving this magnet slowly, current will be induced, but the current will be of very low values. Let us say it is of 1 ampere. But if I am bringing this magnet fast, then the amount of current, magnitude of current in the coil will also increase, let us say 5 ampere. So the induced EMF depends upon rate of change of flux. So these two were Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Now comes the next question, that how many ways are there you can change the magnetic field lines. One way we told that you bring the magnet closer, or you bring the current carrying coil closer or farther away. If you keep on moving magnet like this, the number of magnetic field line will keep on changing, and there will be current induced in the coil, one in positive direction and one in negative direction according to the motion. Instead of moving the coil or magnet, we can move this coil also. If this coil is moved like this, again the number of field lines will change and current will be induced. What else can be done? We can change the area of the coil. Let us the diagram that we drew earlier of flux in an area. This diagram. Let us say that we cannot change magnetic field, it is fixed. We put a north pole and south pole, and let us say it is fixed. What else can be changed? Now, if this area remains like this only, there will be no current induced, because there is no change in magnetic field line passing through this area. We can see two magnetic field lines are passing through this area. If we do not move this coil, the number of magnetic field lines will still be 2, so no current will be induced. So we have to either move this coil like this, so that the number of field lines is changing, or what we can do, we can change the area. We can contract it and expand it like this. If we change the area, expand the area or contract the area, again the magnetic field lines, the number of magnetic field lines will change, and again there will be current induced in the coil. One more thing that we can change, since flux is BA cos theta, we can change angle also. If we change angle, the flux will change, so current will be induced. How can we change the angle? If this is the plane and this is the angle, Now if I rotate this plane inside the magnetic field, the angle will keep on changing, and as the angle changes, flux will change, and as the flux change, current will be induced in the galvanometer, in the coil. So this is the basic concept of electromagnetic induction. Read all of this from book also, and if you have any problem then ask me.